Eddie Weller.
And Lisa Jenkins.
We are in a little bit rare form today. We're going to be sharing a little bit of humor with you, but also we're going to be talking about this lifestyle of getting weller.
Yeah, we're having a great day.
We are, and sometimes it's cloudy, sometimes it's sunny outside, but it really just doesn't matter when you just have a smile with a great coworker. Oh,
that's right.
Great?
Or people steal your chairs.
Yes, people steal your chairs.
That's why we're laughing so hard. I took his chair. I switched chairs out when he wasn't in the room, and it was quite funny.
What a kick in the shorts. I sit down thinking I'm in a padded chair and hope my legs come out, not from under me, and yeah, just probably herniated a disc now. Thanks. Tough crowd. This is Dr. Eddie Weller, and I just want to share with you a few things. And most of the time when we, talk either in the office with clients or we're talking one-on-one with, maybe we talked with a mother this morning that was struggling having communication with her child. And what's so interesting, she was having communication problems with a child less than 2 years old.
That's right.
And so, yes, we can have mature conversations with an infant, people. It's possible. Mm-hmm. And so, because you are possible. And that's why one of the things that we always focus on is when do you draw the line from being selfish, like Lisa taking a chair, to selfless, me saying, you can have that chair, Lisa, that's okay. So when do we do that? She's giggling over here. But when do we do that? Where is that selfish line drawn?
It happens. I mean, we see it in the office every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's married couples that come in. There's business owners that come in. There's the people that just don't understand. If it's not dialogue, it's being selfish. It's communication across the board.
But it gets confusing a little bit because we teach people it's okay to take care of you. You're the most important person in the world,
but
right?
It sounds selfish.
It so does. So we're going to talk about that today. I really want to hit home with that. Part of the trilogy of health that we talk about. Remember, our thoughts, how we fuel the body, and what we do with our nerve system is the epitome of what keeps our temple, our body alive.
Let's go into that for just a second. You talk about this crazy nerve system all the time. What does that have to do with our thoughts? What does it have to do with our health? What does it have to do with life?
Golly. How many hours do we have here? So what's interesting about the nerve system, particularly the nerve system, is that where do our thoughts come from? It's like, oh my gosh, that is such a great thought. Like, where'd that come from? Right? So we can get on the spiritual side of that, but all of that is resonated through the nerve system. And so our body comes in agreement with our thoughts. I mean, if I were to walk you through right now, eating a lemon, I was going to say, all right, why don't you close your eyes, everybody who's listening, and do that, but people are probably driving. We don't want to do that.
Right. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
No car accidents.
But if I were to walk you through eating a lemon, right, and close your eyes, you can think of it, you can smell it, you can smell the citrus in it, and you can just barely put it to your tongue. You feel that sourness, right? And so you peel the rind back, and you take a small bite into the lemon. And you can feel your mouth just watering right now.
So there.
Is your mouth watering right?
Yeah,
right?
There.
Mine too, as I'm talking about it right now. It's
we
weird.
Just had lunch. My stomach's still growling. Crazy. Back to the lemon.
Oh, tangent.
Yeah.
So, what always does this to me. But what's interesting about that is your body, you're not eating a lemon.
Right.
But your body is thinking about eating a lemon, and it's reacting to that thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thought. It's similar to the analogy that I always speak about when you're getting close, God forbid, into a car accident. And when you get really close of getting into a car accident, what happens? Right? Your heart races a little bit. You get that hot flash. You roll down the windows.
What happened when you just about fell out of the chair?
Oh, when I just fell out of the chair. Right. Right. The body came into what happened? The heart rate, you laugh, but my heart was racing. I felt it. I had a little bit of a hot flash because your body goes in this fight or flight mode, like, oh, protect yourself. What is this? What is this? And the physiology of who we are is all predicated on how well the nerve system's functioning. Mm-hmm. So when people are depressed, let's say, or they have anxiety, is there an imbalance in the nerve system that's causing that? Sure, there's a serotonin level that is imbalanced into the brain. So the inhibitors or the uptake inhibitors into the brain, you're dumping so much serotonin, the body can't keep up with that. And what happens? There's an overload, and we get anxiety or depression. That happened. That's the nerve system functioning. Well, my mom had it, so I'll probably have it. Well, that doesn't help either. Again, our thoughts become things. And when our thoughts become things, as we think about certain things of, again, it's in my genes, or everybody in my family has it.
We hear that so often. I mean,
allergy season's coming.
Yes.
Cold and flu season's right around the corner. Everybody get your flu shot. So I have a hard time with understanding that. If the power that made us didn't make a mistake, because it's made to take care of us, I call God, this intelligence inside of us, that life force, if you will, lives in our nerve system. So as an upper cervical chiropractor, one of the things I do is I really monitor nerve system functioning. Once that's taken care of, once I get that balance, the nerve system, now it's up to you to really kind of move forward. We call getting weller. What are you fueling the body with? Are we filling it or are we fueling it? Right? So it's those kind of things. Hence, we just went out to lunch.
We did.
Right? You had a
Garden burger.
turkey burger, right? Without any bread and a fruit cup.
Right.
Right. They ate more in jail. And so what I had is I had a spicy chicken sandwich with pepper jack cheese, and I took the bread off. The cheese fell off, and it was nasty. So I had a small chicken breast that I held with my fingers. My fingers got gooey. I had sweet potato fries,
still
about
hungry?
5 of them. Yeah, I'm still hungry right now. You know, you're aggravated when you pay for lunch, but I'm like, oh, I didn't eat enough.
Right.
That's why we should have went the whole paycheck.
That's right.
Whole Foods, I'm sorry.
We should have.
And so we should have eaten there, and I always
Bad
leave
call
with
on your part.
I leave with a full belly. But going back to that, our thoughts, our physiology, our nerve system, and again, what we fuel our body with, we call the trilogy of health. It's comprised of making constructive, healthy decisions, and then going back into that, speaking of healthy decision, about taking a chair away from somebody. Mm-hmm. It's just fun when you have a relationship with somebody and you understand each other. I know she didn't do it intentionally to, quote, hurt me. It was fun because she would be a terrible poker player because her face was already grinning before I even sat down. So I thought something was up, like there's a tack on my seat, but I didn't think my seat would be rock hard as I sat down. And the whole point of that is this. Am I upset or mad at her for doing that? Absolutely not. It was fun. It was a joke. So friends do. But where is it? Like here, you told me earlier today there was a gentleman driving a car. Slowly in front of you. And you had somewhere to go, so you were a little bit human doing, right? You were rushed.
Oh, my frustration levels were already up. Right. 5 minutes to get to the bus stop, and this guy is driving like
good catch.
Grandma. Yeah.
Grandma. Don't mock Grandma. My grandma moves.
Very sorry, Grandmas.
Okay.
Love you all.
And so what happens, how fast was he going?
Like 15 to 20.
15 to 20 miles an hour.
On a 40.
And on a 40. And so he's intentionally doing that, looking in the rearview mirror, and something told you he's intentionally. And your daughter's like, Mom, go around him, go around him. Like, no, I'm not going to go around him. There's, double yellow line. I'm still being, I'm going to do the right thing here. And then what ended up happening?
I ended up turning in, and he ended up flipping me off.
So he gave you the bird when you didn't do anything, quote, wrong. Maybe you were probably riding his butt a little bit.
He didn't understand what was going on in my car and why I was in a hurry. He just kept driving, and he was doing something to irritate me.
So the road rage would be what? Road rage could be, why did he pull me over? I'm gonna confront this guy. What's wrong with you? Right? We want to justify our actions of who we are or why somebody's done what they've done.
Right.
Just because your friend or your family member or a teacher or a coworker or your boss or your parent has said something to you that you don't really get or understand, don't find it at fault. Don't find them at fault. Just take the situation for what it is and go, I need to think on that. Mm-hmm. I almost think of situations where I get confronted with things.
And it doesn't make you selfish when you just want to think or turn your back or walk away.
Can I get back to you on that?
Right.
Right? Why not? That's a respect for time. Oh, what? You're too good? You can't answer for that right now? No, it's not that. When do you respect the time of a decision that was been made about you or of you? And so when I think it's really, really hard for most people to shed the ego and be selfless and say, I'm sorry you feel that way. That's okay. I did that last night with somebody who we met. She came to the office and got a tour of the office, and we're talking about people and how they think about one another.
Right.
And I said, bald guys, I happen to be bald guys are very, very attractive. And she's like, oh, okay. Actually, no, bald guys are really, really ugly. And she's like, oh, right. It really doesn't matter what you think about me.
Right.
I like me. This is who I am, and I'm comfortable with me. So I'm sorry you feel that way. And that's the best way to approach somebody. And when somebody says something, instead of flipping them off or getting yell at them or start talking gossip about them or texting about them on Facebook or whatever that is, hey, did you hear what so-and-so did? What a blah, blah, blah. Why not just go, I'm sorry you feel that way?
Well, and let's talk about pocket dialing. When we talk about this a little bit, if you are going to...
AKA butt dial.
Yes, and if somebody's going to be on that phone and they hear a conversation about them, is it something that they're going to want to hear?
Right.
I mean, how often do we do that? I mean, if you're talking about somebody and it's not something that they can hear on the other end of the phone, then I think you zip your mouth.
I taught a seminar last week, and when I was teaching this seminar, I was talking about all the different aspects of communication with clients. It was a bunch of students that I teach, clients that are eventually going to be doctors. These are future doctors. And one of the things that was spoken about, somebody took out of context. And when they took that out of context, they never approached me with it. They start talking smack, if you will, about me, the teacher, somebody who's kind of taking these people under their wing for free.
Right.
And shame on them. Right. So I'm not going to isolate or call anybody out. I'll address that personally one-on-one with them. But I'll say, hey, what do you mean by that? That's okay. You should go up to somebody, and I'm going to say, first and foremost, hey, if I offended you, I apologize. But please, next time that happens, confront me on it. Ask me, what did you mean by that, Doc? Versus just saying, oh, gosh, why did you say that? There he goes. Or we do that all the time.
Well, it's because it's the way that it's perceived. So they perceived it differently than how you actually meant it. So they took it upon themselves to just go talk behind your back about it, and then watch it blow up before them.
And that is a butt dial or pocket dial.
Yes.
Right. So let's just say that you're having a conversation with somebody in the car, and one conversation led to another, and you end up starting to talk about somebody. And when you're talking about somebody, if they were in the car, or better yet, if they were accidentally dialed on your phone and they can hear the conversation, would you want them to hear it?
It's happened to me. It's happened.
It is. And so sooner or later, we have to go, wow, are they a friend? Where do we draw the line? How do I confront them? Or just by saying, know what, I didn't like that, and I thought we had a closer relationship, versus just totally ignoring it and being that fake person. And because a lot of people just, sweep it under the rug and don't address it. And it has nothing to do with being selfish or even selfless. It's just being a genuine and real person. And I think when we can let go of the control of what people want for us, good things have to happen.
That's right. You're listening to Getting Weller. We'll be right back.
Young life check, sin-minded keys, solution to remedies, enemies becoming friends when bitterness ends. This is my church.
Hey there, this is Dr. Eddie Weller.
And Lisa Jenkins.
Who says we can't have fun, crazy music?
Oh, yeah. They're dancing in the studio.
That music was back in the dance days when I was in high school, and it actually really got serious in the dancing.
Never heard it.
I know, because you live in the sticks. I'm a city kid. And so the dancing got really serious when I was in 20, 21, 22, 23, the big club thing, and going dancing and having a good time. That song's actually called God is the DJ. It's it's a fun song, Lisa. We should shake it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring glow sticks next week, and we're going to take a picture of it. We're going to shake it here in the studio.
Wow. No, we're not.
No? Okay.
I'll make sure he falls out of his chair a few more times. And
Tough crowd. Tough crowd.
So we're talking about being selfish, and selfless.
Yes.
So why don't we talk about some examples of those in a household, in a family entity?
I often think about when it starts. When does that, because you can't teach that, right? It's kind of like you don't teach love. Be nice to your brother. Be nice to your sister, right? Be nice. That's already in us. It's the things so's the sinful side of us. And so I've got a little guy, he's 3 years old, and he's pushing the envelope, right? My daughter's 5, and she's got a heart like Mother Teresa. Mm-hmm. She doesn't ruffle a feather ever until he comes around. And he kind of pushes his way around. He's like this little pit bull around a chihuahua. And so yesterday even, they opened the refrigerator up, and sure enough, I'm going to get their milk, rice milk and coconut milk and almond milk, soy milk. So they're going to get their milk, and when they're going to get their milk, he pushes her square out of the way, 3 years old, push her out of the way, and bang, she hits the side of the tray with the pickles and all the fun stuff. And Papa, you pushed me. And so he gets his milk and he runs, ha, 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 and he's giggling. I'm like, come here, you little trooper.
I can so see it happening.
Oh, he's something else. But that happens all the time in people's lives. And if that isn't nipped in the bud, if you will, early, and I said, Liam, this is what we do here. Do you see Papa push Mama in the refrigerator? I made it relevant to him. Mm-hmm. Right? And he's like, well, no. Why don't you see Papa push Mama? Now he answers, well, that wouldn't be nice. You're absolutely right. That wouldn't be nice. Would it be nice if Mama pushed Papa? No, we don't push here. Mama and Papa love each other just like you and your sister love each other. I says, Mia, and I called her back because she was still upset. You can look at her the wrong way and she'll cry. Mm-hmm. And so come on over. I says, Liam has something to say. Sorry, Mia. So good. I said, Liam, you have one job and one job only the rest of your life from me. Just one. You are to protect your sister no matter what. And so I'm planting that seed now.
Right.
I said, your most important person you got to take care of is your sister. Because if Papa can't take care of it, I need you. You're the next man here.
And it does start so young. I mean, it's last week we were talking about the affirmations that are from like 0 to 1. And then after that, it's like, okay, now we're going to start being selfish. We're going to start doing things that we want. We're going to see how many buttons we can push. We're going to see what we can get away with.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Grady, I have a 3-year-old also. So this morning, I mean, we're really running late trying to get out of the house. And Abby's helping me get him in his car seat. And he's, you know, shutting the door and opening the car door, and he's running around the car, and he's making us chase him, and he's looking at us and laughing, and I'm going, we just gotta go. Abby's gonna miss the bus. And what do? They think it's fun, but at the same time, it's like they're pushing buttons, and they know that they are. Yeah.
And I do it. I've been notorious to push a few buttons in my life, right? We all have to kind of get under somebody's skin. But I almost, you know, growing up, I've always pushed the envelope, even in school. And gosh, in high school, boy, did I ever. You know, when I start getting suspended enough, 10, 20, 30 times in suspensions, once I hit over 100 detentions, I know that was a little bit in trouble. But I would always want to push the envelope. And I think we tend to do that, entrepreneurs especially, try to do that, and just to see what you can get away with. And I think if there aren't any parameters set younger, especially single parents, moms or dads, whoever you are out there, it's tough to play both roles. And then sooner or later, somebody's going to play that opposite role of you. It's a polarity in a relationship. We were talking about somebody earlier, and I said, somebody who we've recently met, and I said,
right.
When in the relationship, is it somebody who does she respect him, or does she walk all over him? Right? It's one or the other. And not saying anybody has to be controlling by any means, but it's a respect thing. This is where my role is as a male, and this is your role is as a female, aka husband and wife. So this is my role, and this is what I'm going to provide for you. And if I'm not, shame on me as a male if I don't come to you and say, hey, if I'm not making you happy, tell me what will.
Yeah, I mean, don't stand behind the sidelines and call your wife a nagger. Go and let her know what she's doing. Don't just play into her hand of giving her everything that she wants because you're scared of her, scared of what's going to happen in the relationship. That is no way to live.
Well, I love you enough to share it with you.
Right.
And if I don't share it with you, shame on me for ever complaining, because who am I? Remember, we always talk about, the Weather Channel. Constant updates, traffic and weather on the 8s. It's the same. It's the relationship. Your body does that from the brain to the body. They're always in communication. Why wouldn't you do that with everybody who is involved in your life? Family, friends, coworkers. It doesn't matter.
Well, let's go back to the entrepreneur. I mean, we talk about being entrepreneurs all the time, and we have quite a few of them in our lives. And when you look at an entrepreneur and they're go, 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 go all the time, and then their spouse is no go, 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 go all the time, how does that, because then the spouse feels selfish when they say you can't do this or you're not going to do this, but then that entrepreneur just can't be the person that they want to be. So they feel selfish to a certain extent, and then the spouse feels selfish once they start thinking about it. So how does that come? How do we approach that? How do we deal with that within a household, a business? It's all over the place.
The clock. The clock is there's only 7 days of the week, and you kind of sit in front of a calendar and say, all right, this is how we're going to do things, or how would you like to do things? Versus, when most entrepreneurs, as they tend to play more of a leadership role, this is how I think we should do things. Well, you didn't invite me now. You just told me. And now the employee type of person just says, all right, who's going to tell me what to do? Because that's what they're kind of used to at work, right? They're not giving any authority. But I think if both people sit down and says, all right, what are the things that we want to do this week or this month? When are we going to do those? Good. So now it's a life and air mentality. It really is. It's figuring out what you want in your personal life first, and then business comes second.
Yes. Amen to that.
The entrepreneur does the opposite.
But it comes down to two things: respect and communication. So are you going to respect your spouse enough to say, okay, what do you have going on? Because when you have an entrepreneur mindset, you don't think. It's not that you don't mean to think or figure out what's going on in the household and what needs to be done. It's just like, I got to go, 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 go. I got to make money. I got to provide for my family. I got to do this no matter what the sacrifice, no matter what it means.
Because the entrepreneur's wearing many hats.
Many hats.
Right. And so typically when people punch in, punch out, and they do that, and they're an employee, you wear one hat, what you're hired for. But
we, as being entrepreneurs, can not on purpose, I don't know how to say this without saying it, is not respect our spouses to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because we forget that they're not like us. And we see this over and over inside of the office. We have quite a few couples that are dealing with this in the office right now as we speak.
Right.
And we talked to
Family
quite a few of them.
communication is what we talk
it's
about.
all.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a family yesterday. We were talking to the same thing with them. It's like, okay, my business is crazy busy, but then my husband feels like I'm not spending enough time with him. And then my daughter thinks that I'm not spending enough time with her. But I got to make money. I got to do this or we can't pay our bills. I mean, we have no money and the bank account's overdrawn.
Right.
How do you draw that line? And it just comes down to where's the communication?
It is, but what's acceptable, what's not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is unacceptable. You cannot come home. We have a policy in our house. You don't walk in the house on the cell phone.
Right.
That's unacceptable. So are we all in agreement? Good, we're all in agreement. There are no phones at the dinner table.
Mm-hmm. That's
we're
my
in agreement.
None.
Right? So there are no phones. So you set the standard or policy for the entire house like a business.
So maybe it does come down to three things. There's policy, respect, and communication. What is it that you're setting? What is it that you want as a family? It's not what he wants or what she wants. It's what does the family want?
Yep.
I had to go out for a client Saturday. Was it Saturday night? I don't remember what day I told you. I lose track of days. That's our entrepreneurism.
What day is it?
I know. What is today? Tuesday?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I knew that my little girl wanted me to sit down on the couch with her and watch a movie with her. We've been planning it all day, and then I had an emergency client call, and I had to see them. And right now I want to get in their headspace to where they're at. I want to meet them where they're at. I want to see what's going on with them. So I sat her down at the table, and I said, you know, I know that we had this plan. This is what mommy's dealing with. This is what's going on. And she was a little upset, but then talking it out with her and asking her, I didn't tell her what I was going to do. Totally. I said, is it okay with you if I'm only going to be gone for an hour. I can promise you that I'll only be gone for an hour. And she goes, okay, mommy, I think that that's okay. I respected her. I opened up the lines of communication and I kept my promise based on the policy that we set in the house. I came home. I was only gone for 45 minutes, and I sat down on the couch with her and still watched that movie.
And how old is she?
She's 9.
Right. And that's the seed where, right, we always talk about from 8 years old to 12 years old are the impressionable years.
Right.
Those are the years where we really kind of create not only our standards, but our foundation of who we are.
All she wants is for us to listen. So it's not you're going to tell me. I want you to hear me and what I have to say.
Oh, that's awesome.
So as being entrepreneurs, I felt selfish in my relationship at first. When I got that phone call, I felt really selfish. Oh, my, what am I going to do?
Well, it's the guilt. The guilt kicks in and says, I told somebody one thing, because this country was based on our word. Mm-hmm. You know, when people, that's why you never hear me say the P word too often, promise. Promise is a big deal. If you promise, that's your word. So if you go back on your promise, your word, I mean, to me means nothing then.
Right.
And so I never ask anybody, hey, do you promise this? Because if I do, I need you. And if you say, yeah, I own that.
And that's interesting because we very rarely say the word promise in our house because you never know what'll come up. Mm-hmm. You never know what'll come and happen.
I'll promise I'll be real. I'll be genuine. I'll be honest. I'll respect you. I'll show you compassion. And I want to do that. And so when you just respect, I think the most important thing to ever respect of anybody is their time and space. Mm-hmm. Right? Some people like to have their own space. Some people like to have their own time. I need this much time with you. Are you good with that? From a doctor's office visit to a friend on a phone call to answering a text. Why did it take you 4 hours to answer that text? It's just time.
Yes.
It's just understanding that. And if we can respect one another's time, there's no expectation of that person.
Well, and you respect, and to use you and I as an example, it's a perfect example. I will text you, and I respect your time with your family, so I don't expect you to get back to me right away.
Only when you go, hello, is your phone on?
Yeah, hello. Right now I need an answer. That very rarely happens, but it can't happen. But you know that if it's something that I need right away, I'll put that in the top of the text. Please answer me ASAP, or I'll pick up the phone and call you. But I respect your time with your family, and
just
like
thus
you respect my time.
Just like I respect the time of the people who are advertising on this channel. So let's do a little bit of a break right now. This is Dr. Eddie Weller, and we are getting Weller. Something that you told them, this is something that you're requesting of them.
Right. But when is that okay? I mean, we see so many people that come in our office that go, what are you managing me, putting myself first? I mean, how does that work? I have kids, I have to work, I have to do this, I have to do that.
Well, you don't have to do anything. No, I tell people, I have to do this. No, what you have to do is, like my mother's always said, pay taxes and die. Those are the only two things you have to do. Everything else in your life, you just have to play the game. right? And the game is
pay taxes and die.
Pay
Wow.
taxes and die. Those are the only. You don't have to pay taxes. No. I did not say that. That was our board operator. His phone number is 555-1212. And so what's interesting is we don't have to do anything we're choosing to. I didn't have to be on this radio today. I could be sitting right now. I can be walking down the street collecting cans and doing good community service. I could be speaking somewhere else. I could be on another radio. I chose to be here and share this time with you, Lisa. Oh,
it's so nice of you.
But seriously, I chose to do that. And
Right.
as I chose to do that, it's not a chore. Choosing is not a chore.
Let me ask
that
you
is
a question.
Great line.
Choosing is not a chore. Wow.
When you
it
make
is.
that choice, and all of a sudden you're holding yourself accountable, going, "Gosh, I still have to do this now." Well, you chose to do this at one time. Why is it a chore now?
And people do choose, and then they don't agree, or they think that their decision was wrong.
Yeah.
And then they go back, and that's a whole nother show. But what I want to ask you, when I say to you, how do you take care of yourself? What do you think? What does it mean for you to take care of yourself?
I mean, that's all in perspective, of course. Some people like the working out. Some people want some God time. Some want some silent time. But are you asking me personally?
I'm asking you personally.
That's tough for me. Really tough for me. One thing I value more than anything ever is this thing called the clock, because it never stops.
Mm-hmm.
And so I very much value my time. And people ask me, why aren't you in the office 5-6 days a week, working your 50, 60 hours a week? Why aren't you doing that? Because I would be no good for anybody if I burned my candle at both ends.
Right.
And so on Tuesdays, I typically shoot videos, or I'm at the studio, we do marketing or whatever. That's a business aspect or an admin day. I'm not necessarily seeing patients. But Fridays are free days. In high school, I used to get in trouble a bunch. I was that Woody Woodpecker guy or Dennis the Menace guy that always walked around with a smile but aggravated a lot of people. That was me. And I used to get in trouble for it. And I intentionally got in trouble on Thursdays, so I'd get written up to the dean's office Thursday afternoon and got suspended on Fridays.
Wow.
I'm like, this is great. They're not kicking me out of
You
school.
learned how to
but
work the system.
Yeah, and we all do. And so I always had a 3-day weekend. So now I forever have a 3-day weekend. People are like, you're so lucky. You don't work Fridays. I'm not lucky. I set up my life that way.
You set it up early.
But it's the life. It was a lesson learned. But it's a life and air lifestyle. And the life and air lifestyle is I want to be rich in life. That's what life and air means. You can go to lifeandair.com. And a good friend of mine is putting this event on pretty soon. And anyway, we'll talk about that in another show. And I love that mindset of I'm going to fit all these have-tos in my life secondary to my life. And so I talked to a woman in the office, and she's like, I would love to have Fridays off. I would be able to do this or do that. And I says, what do you do? Well, I'm a dental hygienist. Okay, so why not go talk to your boss, the dentist there, and ask him, say, hey, I want to work instead of 8-hour shifts, 10-hour shifts. Can I do 10-hour shifts 4 days a week and have Fridays off? And you know what he said to her? You'll do that for me? Yeah.
Wow.
He had no idea. He would love to have had that, but he was afraid to ask her
We
that.
just don't speak out what we want, and that
And
happens
that's the
every
point.
day.
And that is the point. What do you want in your life? I have some friends of mine that are unbelievably wealthy. Like over the top, don't know what to do with their money, but they're broke in my eyes because they're owned by that job or that money as they're chasing it. I can't take it with me. So I'm going to just enjoy the time that I have now. And that's so very important. Hey, I'm not saying being a quote-unquote bum and just kind of collect dust either. You got to add to the world with the gift that you've given. And when you share your gift, you get compensated with money. That's how we do that in this country.
That's right.
Right. So as you get compensated with money, use your money wisely. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, I use my time wisely. So on Fridays, I do that. And I'm really trying to push my wife to start enjoying those afternoons with me on Fridays. We do that. Mm-hmm. Saturday and Sunday, we do family. It's spontaneous awesome. Saturday and slow down Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. It's Freedom Friday. Yeah, so that every day there's a theme of the week we call 7 Days of Success, and here at Getting Weller. And so one of the things that I always want to focus on is my word. If I say I'm going to have freedom on Fridays, darn it, I'm having freedom on Fridays. And what are you going to do? Anything I want to do. Sometimes I meet with couples at the botanical gardens. I love the gardens. I'm there all the time. Or I go mall walking. I'll walk around the mall and I'll just kind of do my thing and just kind of escape and talk. Or I'll go I'm always doing something with motion. I never sit still. I just can't. Emotion is motion. Life is motion. And if I'm not going to sit still.
And I love everything that you're talking about. It's funny that people will read magazines and all of this information about how you're supposed to take care of yourself, and that's reading and that's doing this, and you must get your exercise in, and you must do this and you must do that. And I hope what you got out of what Dr. Weller was just talking about is that whatever it means to you to manage yourself or to take care of you, is what it means to you, nobody else. It's not about comparing or doing what society says that you need to do. It's about what you need as an individual, what you need as a person. If it's you need to paint your nails to feel great, then paint your nails to feel great. That gives you that sense of I mean, if you need
if you don't want to paint your nails,
right,
spend a little money and go have somebody do your nails.
Yes.
Go take care of you. Make you number one.
I mean, if it's reading a book, if it's taking a hot bath, whatever it is, figure it out. It might be spending the afternoon on a Friday with your wife or your husband. It's whatever makes you happy.
It is.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up with just some thoughts of the week and what we hope that you get out of this radio show today.
Don't worry and be happy. This is Getting Weller. We'll see you in a second. What is that? And how do you define it?
I don't know. What's the dictionary say?
We should look that. Forget about the dictionary. What's the Bible say? That's the best way to go about love. And where'd the love come from? I think we should, as we talk about, getting towards the end of the show, we started with selfishness and selflessness. It really comes down to love. Love of time, love of your respect, love of your space, love of you as a being and who you are. And if we can let go of what we think of what we want, parents do it all the time. Go to a high school game or go even growing up. My daughter's going to do ballet. She's going to do this. My son's going to play this sport. They live their life through their children. So not loving them for who they are and what they are, per se. They're loving what they could be in their eyes, not the child's eyes.
Well, and going back to that, and I think that that's a great point, is we are always taught that loving ourselves is selfish. If we do anything for ourselves, it's selfish.
Yeah, you're vain.
And now what we see is that people don't love themselves and they don't believe in themselves. We do something as simple as an I am statement in the office. And when we put that in front of people, they're going, that's great, but that's not who I am. Mm-hmm. Yes, that is who you are. That is who you are deep down inside. That is what God created you to be.
Yeah, that's how you define
But
you.
they don't believe that because the world has just kicked them down. It has spit on them. There's so much.
I don't even think it's that per se. I mean, the world does only if you let it because you're not respecting of who you are and what you are.
You don't always have choices as to what happens to you, especially while you're growing up.
I totally agree. And we've both had some really interesting, as everybody else who's listening has some interesting things happen
Everybody
to them.
has a story.
We all have our own story. So we can choose to live in the yesterday or we choose to be, you know what,
Amen.
I am who I am right now.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
Right, I am who I am right now because those were stepping stones for me to find out who I was then and who I am now. And if we can not necessarily move forward, but live, know what I'm doing tomorrow? I say it all the time. I'll tell you when I get there,
yes,
right? I say
know
it all
that
the time.
very well, yeah.
And so I'm living right now, doing what I want to do with my life right now. I'm not going, man, one day I hope I can do this.
Or not focused on yesterday or what I didn't do yesterday or my to-do list or
I should have got that done or what did so-and-so say about me? I just want to love my life. And that's why that song, what is love?
Mm-hmm. Go, Doc.
Well, I should shake that up a little. I got a little chills there.
Come on.
But what is it? And how do you define it? And one of the things that I love that Post-it note analogy that I did with the family yesterday. And so Lisa and I, we work with families and we help communication and kind of help them break this trend of their lack in the lifestyle. And we open up the door to this possibility of who they are as a family or individuals and really fall in love with this thing called life again. I don't think God put us here to live in yesterday or live in lack. We've all there's some junk going on in the world today, but that junk has been going on for centuries, thousands of years even. There's always been chaos and murder and just a lot of uncomfortable, not nice things per se.
That's right.
We can choose to say, gosh, woe was me. Why was I born at this time and age? Or I'm just going to go, you know what? This is who I am. This is the time I'm going to be here, and I am going to make the best of it with what I have.
That's right. And it's important to say that as we work with families, we see so many different things. Every family that we sit down in front of is different. They're all different scenarios. We do different exercises, different thought patterns, different things with every person that we sit in front of.
Kind of like a personal trainer. I
Right.
don't do the same workout for every person because everybody's
different. It's the
different.
same foundation, but it's all different. We start in the same way.
Yeah.
But it was very impactful yesterday what happened with that couple and their daughter. It was amazing. But you mentioned the Post-it note, so I would like you to go into that a little bit more and tell our listeners what it is that you gave them to do at home.
The biggest struggle, I think, even as teenagers, as people growing up, is communication. One would be real secretive, like, oh, that's my stuff, that's my room, don't go in there, it's my whole thing. Versus I've always had a very open line of communication with my parents. I have always been raised where you don't disrespect your parents. You make them look weak or inferior, like they're not good enough. So I've never had any problem say, hey, I have a problem with something, I've done something wrong or something not good, I need help right now. I've been fortunate to always have that. And when I see other families in the office that are unable to do that and have that for some particular reason, unfortunately, there aren't any classes on parenting. None. And if there are, it's just one person's idea of what you think you should be. Mm-hmm. And so it all comes back down to love, right? We teach compassion, honesty, respect. But the communication thing, one of the things that I brought up was the fishbowl. I used this with a friend of mine. He and I are ADD entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that, the ideas of businesses never stop. So we created a Dropbox account where there's a fishbowl file. Every time each one of us have a thought, we don't tell each other, we just put that business thought into the fishbowl. And on January 1st, we open that file up and we go through every one of those ideas and we're like, what were we thinking? And other ones are like, no, we should act on that.
We should so do that.
Right. We should do that. We should start that.
So
because
do
the
that.
ideas don't stop
Yeah.
there. And I did that with the family. And I did it yesterday with the fishbowl with Post-it notes. The red Post-it note was something I need help with, not a problem. Something I need help with. It's not a problem. Mm-hmm. And then the green Post-it note is something constructive or positive that happened that day or something they're thankful for. It's kind of like a Gratitude Tuesday card, right? We teach, all the time, 7 days of success. Mm-hmm. What are you grateful for? On the green Post-it note, you put something in about the family of your life that you're grateful for. And on the red Post-it note, you put it in the fishbowl, and somebody else in your family is going to pick that up and read it and say, how can I fix that problem for this person in the family? Where it creates this unity in the family. It says, hey, let's do this together. We're a team. If one team player falls, there's the basketball team, there's 5 players. If one player falls, I can't play with 4 as well.
That's right. And there's always somebody in the relationship, whether it's home or work or wherever you're at, that's a giver and a taker. I mean, you
always
have that. So when you have a mom and a daughter and the mom's
including
busy on
yourself,
the phone.
At one time you're a giver and a taker.
Absolutely.
We all play that role.
Maybe at any given day we can be. But you have a mom and a daughter who the mom's on the phone and the daughter interrupts her on a very important phone call and then mom blows up and the daughter perceives it differently. Mom didn't mean for that to happen that way.
Yeah.
But the daughter didn't mean for that to happen that way either. So what you did was give them a line of communication that's going to help them open up that communication even more that says...
To where
hey,
they won't need the
waited.
fishbowl anymore.
Yeah, that they could have waited. Just learning how to open up conversation and communication in a healthy manner rather than feeling like they're always stepping on somebody's toes, like they're always getting in the way, they're always disappointing, or they're always scared of the reaction.
It's always going to be the reaction. The reaction is either, 1, I'm going to get yelled at, or 2, I'm going to disappoint. Secondly, it's the latter. Most
It's
of the time
always
the
those
latter.
two.
Yes.
It's fear and disappointment.
Always. And so, why not test the waters? And the test the waters is I always teach people, if you have a hard time talking about it, write about it. Mm-hmm. And so write it on a card. Do you ever notice when somebody writes you a letter or writes a card, regardless if you agree with it or not, you still complete the entire card.
That's right.
You always finish the letter. And so, therefore, you can be heard. Your voice has been spoken through paper.
I have a couple right now, and I don't know if I told you this. I mean, you and I talk about so many things. Sometimes it slips. But we're working with a couple right now, and she's so frustrated with her husband. I mean, resentment through the marriage, and it has been that way for 33 years. She cannot get these things off of her mind. She has seen psychiatrist after psychiatrist, and she just is not able to shake this. Sit down and write everything that you're feeling in note form as if you're sending it to your husband and get it out. And the incredible release that she's going to have from that is going to be amazing.
Because 1, he or she's going to yell at me, or 2, I thought this person, I married this person, and boy, they didn't turn into what I thought they would be.
It's just part of the whole letting go process. But
It's
when
the
you read it,
expectation,
and when you read it, you're hearing it. When somebody's saying it, you don't hear it because there's other
Your wall's
distraction.
up.
There's things, and
Well,
your wall's up, but there's things happening in the environment around you. So when you write it, they have to hear it because they have to read every single word.
It's just like this dynamic you and I are having right now in conversation. We're chiming in back and forth. We haven't really allow one another to finish a sentence. Not all the time, but we do that.
Right.
And it's just simple conversation. But if we were having something to debate on, maybe another show that we're going to do is we're going to find a topic in which you and I disagree upon and how we have a debate and how we communicate about it. I think that would be really cool. That role-playing would be kind of neat for the audience.
You know where my mind's going, what do we disagree on?
I know. I'm trying to think about that too. So
What do we disagree on?
we'll find something.
There's something. There is something. It's so funny because just like any normal person, we both have flaws, but we don't get fixated on our flaws. How many people out there can actually say that about the relationship that is around them, that the relationships that they're in? Are you getting fixated on the flaws that that person is doing? What do they provide in your life, and what are you looking for, and what are you hating? You know, what you're focused too much on their flaws.
You're feeling what's wrong with you, that you see what's wrong with you, when other people just say, hey, that's just who you are.
I know we talked about it the last show. We talked about the positives, or was this a conversation that we had aside from the radio show? I don't know. I can't distinguish them now. But we talked about the positives and the negatives, and, you know, growing up and having all these things in our life. How can you start right now in your family, which is just noticing the positive things that are happening instead of all the negative things happening all the time?
I asked that when I typically take x-rays of somebody in the office. One of the first questions I always pose, because most decisions are made based on your finances. And so I sit down, I said, so I got a question for you. You have $100 million in the bank. $100 million in the bank. You can do anything and buy just about anything you want. And they're like, okay, everybody lights up on one condition. You have to work every day. I don't care what the job is. I don't care if you're collecting cans or you're painting walls or you're cleaning antennas on top of high rises. It doesn't matter. You have to work. What do you do? And that, most people go, gosh, if I had that money, then I would do this and I would do that. 9 times out of 10, they could do those things without the money.
That's right.
They just feel like they're stuck in a corner. And the way they can get out of their corner is justified by saying, you know what? Hey, I've got money in the bank. I can go do what I really want to do now. Shame on you. Shame on you for thinking that and doing that. I remember when I graduated school, and, you know, we graduated as doctors up to our eyeballs in debt. And I didn't know what to charge for my services. I didn't know, but I couldn't stop doing this. I love this, but my life has been transformed with the care that I offer. So I couldn't charge. So I went to Home Depot. My mother thought I was crazy. Went to Home Depot, got the largest mailbox they had, and hung it in my reception room. And I did donation for 3 years. And people were like, gosh, if I had enough money in the bank, I would so do donation. Why not do that right? I know a lot of doctors that have huge serving hearts that are in fear mode because of green paper. Why not just do that now? And find a way to serve where money wasn't an object. And we put that in place. You know, once I want to have this car. We were talking about money on the way here today. Mm-hmm. And that allows us, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, hello, God, I need a little help here. Help me out. What am I doing? What kind of answers do I need right now? Versus just keep on keeping on.
What's that pattern? You know, if you haven't broke the pattern, what's going to break the pattern? And that's the hardest part. It's like, this happens in every single season of my life. What am I doing wrong? What am I missing here? What am I, doing?
And that goes back to health. It's not really what you're doing wrong. It's what are you doing right? Like the conversation we had last night with somebody when I approached her and I said, most people say, oh, is that bad for me? Is that bad for me? Well, is it good for me?
That's right.
Why don't we focus on what's good for us versus what's, quote, bad for us? Focus on the things that we want in our life. Like the people, there's a lot of negative connotation for some reason because you're being so, everything's based on materialistic things of, let's put a vision board together. So how cool would it be if you took $50 with your family, you went to the bookstore, and you bought magazines, right? Magazines get a little pricey, but each one of you can get 1, maybe 2 magazines, and that's it. And as a family, you create a vision board together. How cool would that be?
It'd be awesome.
And so, again, it's about planting the seeds in your life. It's about planting your seeds and about moving forward. And when you move forward in your life, it's really about letting go. And what I mean by that is this. Whatever our patterns are or who we are and what we're doing, create that vision board. Get that Post-it note. Write that letter to somebody. Learn to let go. And when we can do that, that's called getting weller. And when we get weller, it's about moving forward and recognizing the things that you did in your yesterday and just moving forward and say, darn it, I'm done. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm ready to move forward, and I've had enough. And when you've had enough of not enough, when you really hit bottom, that's when change happens. Right? Either financial or your health. When people hit bottom and they're in the hospital and they're on death's door and they are fortunate enough to walk out of that door, You need to make a decision right now about saying, I am not going back in that place. I am not going back to bankruptcy. I'm not going back to that abusive relationship. I'm not going to anymore because I am possible.
Yeah, I was going to say, understand that you are possible.
Because you are possible.
And, today was a great show. A lot of information. It's going to be one of those shows where they're going to want to go back and replay it two or three times. But thank you so much for joining us today on the Getting Weller Show. We'll be back at the same time, same place next week.
Until then, keep your head on straight, think good things, get good things. This is Dr. Eddie Weller. Have a great day.